last recommendation is about the pyramid. We put it last, but it's probably the most important thing that we need to do, right? How do we make changes to make sure that we get adoption? There are three key areas that we want to pay attention to. One is measurement, the second is training, and the third is rewards and reinforcement. So we've talked about the last two quite a bit getting here, but I want to focus in on that measurement concept to begin with. When I talk to leaders who are feeling like they're failing because they're not getting adoption, I always ask the same question. Adoption of what? And in most cases, the answer that you get is a shoulder shrug or some general answer about they're just not using it enough. The key, or one of the keys, to making sure that you get adoption is to establish adoption criteria up front. And guess where it comes from? It comes from your business outcomes. What are the minimum things that we need to do in order to get the outcomes that we've defined? You know what they are, or you should. And so here's how you want to think about that. Adoption is in three categories. Real adoption. Access. How often are they accessing the system? Should we expect someone to be accessing the system and creating or modifying something? That's what access adoption is. The second level of measurement is about data adoption. What are they putting in? If you think about our scenario, we know what they need to be putting in. They need to be putting in trip reports. They need to be adding in new contacts as people move. But what you want to think about is, what are the things that they should be putting in the system on a regular basis? And how much of that should we see? So that you can set a baseline for what you expect to see and know that you're getting adoption. And the third thing is process. Are they following the process that we've set up, that we envisioned? Because if you're not, then that means that your data is not right, even if they're putting the right things in the system. So think about a trip report. How long should a trip report stay open on average? Should a trip report be closed right after it's completed? Should a trip report be scheduled in advance? What is the minimum data that should be captured on a trip report and when? So that's an example. You want to plan for adoption with adoption criteria, and you can do that as you're moving through the project so that at the end you already have the ability right out of the gate as you go live to make sure that you're lining the organization up around those business outcomes that we set up. So that's it. Those are the recommendations, or the primary recommendations that we want to make based on your HPO assessment. I'm going to throw one more recommendation in there. That is, right now, while it's fresh, take some notes. Think about what we know we need to do. Any ideas, concepts, questions that you might have, write them down now. And then I would suggest that as a leadership team, you get together and just have a conversation about it. What are we going to do? Do we have an approach for training? Do we have an approach for cadence? So that you know how you're going to do all those things. And I invite you to bring anything left over to our session next week when we get together to talk about overall recommendations and how we're going to move forward. We can spend a few minutes on it then if you have open items. I want to thank you for your time and attention. Spend a little bit of time with me today. Have a good day.